if you ask me, a speech is never about the speaker. It's always about the people who are listening. So if you can tailor your content, tailor your structure based on what the audience wants to hear and how they are feeling. So it means you have to adapt your delivery based on the room. I think that is definitely the first step, even before you put the first word on paper for the speech.
Ja. Leiders en professionals van Nederland helpen nog beter te worden in hun werk. Dat is het doel van DenkTank, de podcast van Denkproducties. Mijn naam is Christ Kolen en ik ben co-host van de show samen met Denkproductieoprichter Hans Janssen.
Ja, hallo.
Vandaag de gast in de podcast Sabyasachi Sengupta.
Hello.
Welkom. Ik ga nog even door in het Nederlands. Dadelijk switchen we naar het Engels. Sabyasachi is wereldkampioen public speaking. Hij won in 2025 bij de Toastmasters. Hij komt uit India, maar hij woont in Amsterdam. Hij werkt als consultant en keynote speaker op het thema gedragsverandering. 15 jaar ervaring in banking en change management. Maar hij is ook vooral de oprichter van Method in Madness. Altijd aan jou, Hans, als eerste de vraag. Hoe komen wij hier verzeild met Sabyasachi?
Nou ja, via een collega, maar die zei... ik ken toevallig de wereldkampioen public speaking. Is dat interessant voor ons?
En toen zei hij...
Is Sinterklaas een goed heilig man? Ja, natuurlijk. Dus toen dachten we, dit moeten we natuurlijk hebben. Want wij niet alleen... willen goede sprekers hebben. Maar we hebben natuurlijk ook altijd een event over spreken, overtuigen. Dus als je dan de wereldkampioen gewoon in de buurt hebt... zou ik zeggen, laten we eens even zijn geheimen delen, toch?
Ja. Oké, this is the moment we'll switch to English.
Dankjewel.
How did it all happen? How did this public speaking thing came into your life?
Quite a coincidence, actually. Like, I enjoyed debating when I was in college. Debating and something we call elocution. It's a kind of public speaking. But I never thought it's going to be a very active hobby or even like the word public speaking. Before I knew Toastmasters, I associated it with politicians and lawyers. So what am I doing there? But when I moved to the Netherlands, as any expat who has struggled to make friends, who has struggled with the weather, the famous food, you feel the need for a community where you can express yourself and make friends. And this club was the place where I found a lot of friends. I purely joined for social reasons to make friends there.
At the Toastmasters.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe tell us a little bit about what Toastmasters is.
Toastmasters is a public speaking club. It's all over the world. It has probably 500,000 members all across the world. Mm-hmm. And it started in the US. And they have a contest every year. Since over 88 years they have. So every year they find a world champion. Mm-hmm. And in the Netherlands, we have lots of clubs. I don't know exact count, but at least good 40 maybe. Mm-hmm. I was part of one of the clubs in Utrecht. Mm-hmm. And I just felt so comfortable doing it. Like with the people, it felt like a safe space. And then it's one of those things where I started getting recognized, people asking me to help them with the speech, give feedback, evaluation. And brick by brick, it became my hobby. It became my favorite hobby. It became my profession. And then it became my identity. So
it's the dream, right? So you make your hobby into a profession. And then out of 500,000 people, because you just said that, you are the best. No. You are the best.
In 2025.
In 2025. Okay.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
And now it's your work to help people talk and speak. And why do you think it's important?
You know, it's funny. We were just discussing this before the podcast that people generally teach something that they need to learn the most. I didn't grow up in India as the most confident kid. Like I was small, skinny, and I went through a lot of bullying. But I still remember that moment when I was 16 years old, and our school, we had this like an elocution. You go up and speak. I don't know, for some reason I raised my hand and I went and spoke for 2 minutes. Suddenly all those people that bully you, they make fun of you, then they never let you even finish a sentence without like launching a punch on your face. Suddenly you see respect in their eyes. They are quiet and they're listening, they're attentive. And the moment you finish, they all kind of forced into clapping for you because you commanded their respect. That felt like the biggest moment of my life. And I just... since then, speaking, words have always, like I always said, words have been my weapons. That's something that has always protected me, guided me, and even gave me opportunities in my life. And yes, I do take this responsibility now to help others in similar situation to find their words, find their weapons through words, so that they can protect themselves, they can find their passion, and also help them in their professional life.
Wow, yeah, great. Well, we will start about the profession of public speaking and how do you do that and what are your ideas? What can the listeners learn from that? We have to take one step before that because you have, if you listen to your life story, then there is, for a normal listener, not a chapter in it that says I also worked in finance. That doesn't fit in. But you actually,
I did.
You did. You came to the Netherlands for that also,
yes,
right?
I came to study. I did my master's from the University of Amsterdam.
Yeah. And then you thought, well, okay, let's go into finance.
Yes.
How was that?
Well, to be very honest with you, it wasn't like oh my God, I wake up in the morning and I want to work in finance.
No.
This is 2011 we're talking about. We're fresh out of the crisis, the subprime crisis. So jobs were not that easy to get. And also if you don't speak Dutch, the number of opportunities were also limited. So it was not really like, okay, I have to choose between finance, products, IT. There was like a buffet of options. This was the only thing that was available, and I grabbed it with both hands. So it came my way. I enjoyed the work. I learned a lot. I do like finance, to be honest. I am an Excel geek. My whole life is an Excel sheet. I really love that. But I always felt there was something missing. And I tried to make my work fun whenever I had the opportunity. And then that's what I reflected in my speech, that I was often called the chief entertainment officer. It doesn't have to be mundane. It can be also a little bit of magic.
You can make numbers swing. Right? Or dance.
Yeah.
Yes. I would go for dance. Swing sounds like, okay.
Something else.
Okay. So, and then let's go back to the moment, because I think we will share it in the notes with this podcast, the 8-minute talk that you gave, and that brought you the World Championship trophy. Can you reflect on it yourself? Because people can watch it. Why did you choose? What did you do for the people who haven't watched it yet, and why did you choose this angle?
So every year from all over the world, around 30 to 40,000 people take part in this competition. And then you win several levels. I think there's a club, the area, division, district, and there's an online quarterfinal. You win up to that, and then you get invited to come to, this year, 2025 was in Philadelphia, to participate in the semifinals. So semifinals is on a Thursday, and out of 28 speakers, 8 qualify to the finals. And then those 8 participate in the finals. That's on the Saturday. So within a week, it's like your life changes basically. But you have to have different speech, one for semis and one for finals. Now, the final speech was a tough choice because I was really struggling to find the right topic. Generally, if you see previous year winners in Toastmasters, there's always a very big inspirational speeches that people have gone through a major life-changing journey, people who had a moment of epiphany, like a very profound moment. And that's kind of the recipe that we like to believe that makes you win. You need to make that kind of emotional appeal to your audience that gets you winning. I tried to write a speech like that, but it's not really in my comfort zone. I can, but it didn't feel like the winning material, because my nature is I enjoy making people laugh. I mean, I was asked this question that if this is your last speech ever, what do you want to do? And my answer was, I would like to make people smile. That's what I really enjoy. I would do it until the day I die, probably. But it was a gamble, because what if I make a funny speech, people don't take me seriously? What if the judges think it's too much stand-up comedy? Or what if they think like, okay, but where is the seriousness in the speech? It's too funny. There were all these self-doubts that were going on. Luckily, I had wonderful mentors who told me to, maximize my max and minimize my min, go and give the best that I am capable of doing. And I went full on with it. And I have to say these years, as I get older, I'm also very much drawn towards spirituality. And one thing that really I learned was detachment. I cannot control what the judges will do. I cannot control what the other contestants might do. I cannot control what the audience might feel. But what I can control is those 7.5 minutes on stage. And I went full on with that. And when I was performing that, I was without the excitement of winning or the fear of losing. I was just enjoying for the sheer joy of sharing a skill that I love the most in this world.
Bam. Marcus Aurelius would be proud of you.
Who?
Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher. I think it's good to tap into that, because Chris is also on stage quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it would be good also to hear from Chris. What are you looking for if you want to become a better speaker?
I'm really interested. Yeah. And it's also an interesting approach you took. To go back to yourself and what is your strength and tell that story.
Mm-hmm.
Because often when you get on stages, I fully recognize there is some kind of a formula. Like to start with your childhood, or to start with an emotional barrier you went through, and it works. But if it's not really your thing, well, can you then tell a great story? I
mean, the number of videos you see on YouTube that tells you about how to speak like Obama or Simon Sinek or the creme de la creme speakers. There's a lot. And I agree that be inspired by everyone, but it's good to embrace your authentic self. And the thing with authenticity is it's not something you discover from one day to the other. Maybe your whole life goes and you still don't know who you are and what tickles for you. It's really about trying things and see what sticks, what you feel comfortable with, what you enjoy doing. And maybe you won't enjoy it. I mean, today I really love making people smile. Maybe 3 years from now I won't. I will enjoy making people cry. That's my new reality. So it also moves, and you have to adapt as a speaker, as a performer, and as a person along the way.
Okay.
And if people come to you, because now you have it's your business now.
Yeah, that's right.
Why is it called Method in Madness?
So it's funny. It was a term a very good friend of mine, Joshua, used to describe me. It's a term from a Shakespeare story. It's the full quote is that though this be madness, yet there is method in it. It is something that looks very chaotic, unorganized, chaos, but if you look carefully, you will see a structure, a thought, and a purpose behind it. Something like that is called Method in Madness, and I think that describes me, my way of working. I'm pretty chaotic. If you see, if you come to my house, there's like papers, there's documents, everything is lying all over. But there is a structure to it. There is some creative purpose why everything is where they are, to stimulate, to guide, and to move forward. So my entire life has been Method in Madness. I'm not a huge planner, but somewhere I make it fun along the way.
It is you. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's look at, because I think that would be good to tap into that. So when you are working in a company and then you're asked to give a talk on future plans or this specific project or whatever, what would the Sabi method be to structure your story? Are there some steps that are relevant for everybody? If you want to, before you start, the first thoughts about your speech. So is of course then, okay, so what am I going to say? How am I going to structure it?
Yeah.
What are the world champions' advices on that?
I think there's one easy thing in that's even before you start getting into the details and fine tuning. Where we start, a lot of people, is that how we do the opening, how we do the closing, what are the humor points, and how much serious that is. Even before that, take your speech into these 3 circles. One is the purpose. What do you want to achieve with the speech? What do you want to give to the audience? Why are you speaking? That's the purpose. The second circle is preparation. How to prepare in front of the camera, take advice, mentoring and guidance to prepare it. And the third part is the audience. What does the audience want to listen? How are they feeling? And I think every speech needs to have the 3 elements on it. Like if there is no preparation, it's a total chaos. If there is no purpose, then it's a stand-up comedy. Like there's a lot of fun, laughter, there is nothing being done. And if there is no feel for the audience, then it's just a mundane lecture, boring lecture that we've all sat through in university, where the professor is just throwing things and it's not sticking, nobody's absorbing. So the important thing before the preparation is to know your purpose. What do you want to achieve as a speaker? What do you want to teach? What do you want to give? And what does your audience want to hear? What are they looking for? We see this, for example, at I've worked with companies where, for example, they have to have difficult conversation. Let's say they're announcing a reorganization and they've prepared the whole slide deck and what they're going to say that, they go into the details that I consulted this consulting company, and people are just anxiously waiting to hear, tell me what happens in my job. They're not registering a single thing. And they want to keep that for the end. But your audience is not listening, but it's very important for them to listen beyond their just what happens to their job. That's where understanding the room, understanding your audience, and understanding the mood of your audience is so important. If you ask me, a speech is never about the speaker. It's always about the people who are listening. So if you can tailor your content, tailor your structure based on what the audience wants to hear and how they are feeling. So it means you have to adapt your delivery based on the room. I think that is definitely the first step, even before you put the first word on paper for the speech.
Yeah. So how do you do that in practice? So then you just sit behind the table, because preparation is kind of, that happens after, but first you have to look at the purpose and the people, right? So
100%.
Okay, so how do you do that? Then you have a blank sheet of paper, and then what do you do?
So the purpose is not that difficult, right? What do you want to say? What is the most important thing? Why are you saying? How do you want the audience to feel after you have spoken? That's the purpose. Then the people side, audience, who are the people in the room? What is that they are most eager to hear? Why are they here? Have they been forced to come to this town hall? Are they coming because they are curious about an update? Are they in a happy mood? What's the mood? What's the room? More importantly, what's the time of the day the speech is happening? Like if you're speaking after lunch, for example, most of the time they will feel tired. They are probably sleepy. So it's your additional role to wake them up, to give them more energy because they are tired. So the time of the day, who is attending this audience? Who is attending in the audience? What is that they're looking to hear from you? Why are they there? As long as you have those answers sorted and you can write it in the paper, you will see your speech already has a natural direction. What you need to say and what you do not need to say in this meeting.
Yes. And that also, and then the structure will follow.
The structure will follow. Yes. You see this, there are hundreds of structures, right? Like the opening, body, conclusion. That's the usual one. There's so many storytelling structures that you can use. The structure comes later, but structure is late in my opinion, it comes later. First start with those three boxes.
What goes, in your opinion, goes wrong if you see speaking as a set of techniques? What is missing if you just...
The human connection. I think that's what most leaders, and they won't admit it unless they're in a one-on-one conversation, I feel they are afraid to be seen as robotic or heartless, because we are living in times when they are making difficult decisions. I mean, everybody would love to be a Santa Claus that comes with gifts. Like nobody wants to be the leader that comes with bad news. But unfortunately, that is the call of the hour. When you don't have that audience perspective in mind, you really run the risk of coming across mundane, heartless, and you have insensitive towards your audience. One term we often use in our corporate world is the speaker is speaking from an ivory tower. That's like a term to describe that you have no understanding how the people are feeling, what they want, what they need. You are just communicating something that is made by your superiors. You're just communicating it. So
let's zoom into that. So I am this manager. I want to be Santa Claus, but I have to let go of 10 people in of a group of 50.
Yeah.
And I come to you and I say, okay, this is the situation, this is the finance, this is why we have to shrink the company, and this is what's going to happen. So I am more the technical view. What would you say to me to establish some kind of connection or to create something called empathy? How do you walk me through that?
Honestly, one advice I always give is don't do all of this in one meeting. The first meeting, keep it just brief, 10-15 minutes, where you just present, hey, difficult times, we have some difficult decisions. There will be 10 people in this group of 50 that we need to let go because of this. Allow them to marinate with that thought. Let them be. A day later or 2 days later, when the news is there, then come and explain the reason. Then come and give the story more in details, more with clarity. Now you know this audience already has enough background. Now that's the audience part. They have certain background. They are hungry for answers. They want to know more. They will ask you questions. So be prepared for that, and then present the whole story. What I have seen, what happens more and more is they take one meeting to give the entire first half, what is going on, the background, the picture, the vision, the mission, the new buzzword that they have learned from a new consulting company, all of that, while people are just like anxiously waiting, tell me what happens to my job.
Yeah.
At the end, when they announce it, you expect Q&A, but the audience is still absorbing the news. They're not there. What you hear as question is just outbursts, frustrations, anger, because you didn't give them enough time to absorb that news. And they also know once you're gone, they're not going to find you in this setting for another 3 months before they can talk to you.
And this is a very clear situation, layoffs. But I think while you were talking, this goes the same for a lot of other projects, new mission strategy, is that we combine too much information in one talk. So your advice is to split it.
100%. It should not look like the leader just wants to communicate it as fast as possible and run away to their ivory tower. I'm here because I want to talk to you, not because I have a message to deliver and I want to quickly run away. Because that's the impression sometimes we get, right? I'm sure you recognize this, right? I just want to download and I run away. Instead, let me have a conversation with you. Let me talk to you. I mean, you just downloading and saying my doors are open, come and see me in my cabin. Let's be honest, that doesn't work today. That's just a myth.
Yeah. So, for instance, what you say is actually normally you structure it and you start with the big general developments, and then the impact on your company and the impact on the team, and you say, and then, oh, sorry, we have to do this and this and this. Actually, you say flip it around, because nobody will be interested in the overall story if they don't know what the impact is on themselves.
100%.
So, yeah.
You know, when our future is at stake, that's your immediate worry. You want to address that first, give that news relatively quickly, and then have a follow-up meeting that explains more in details. What we see now happens is a meeting that gives this whole story and very quickly what happens to the people, and then say you'll get an email. So before they go back to their desk, there's a long email with all the details, all the presentation, because it's much more convenient for people to read it than have this one-on-one conversation. But that creates more and more distance between the leadership. I mean, tough decisions are part of today's time. I mean, nobody likes to make tough decisions, and that's where the human side comes into play.
And apart from like this difficult speeches, what do you do on like maybe your winning speech or other speeches you gave? What do you do to make a human connection?
Personally, I follow a storytelling format called the public narrative. It's not mine. It's a change storytelling technique that's been used a lot of times. It has 3 components. It has the story of self, where you bring your personal story. You give insight to who you are. That's showing vulnerability and your journey. The story of us. That's the story of the group, what's happening, and the team. And the story of now, what we need to do now. This is an excellent storytelling method because it shows the group side. It talks about us. It talks about me, the speaker, and what we need to do. Any speech that touches these three elements is already a good speech, especially end of year speeches that wants to bring community together. What we see, and I have seen that most leaders are afraid to bring that story of self. They don't want to give too much insights. I mean, I can see the classic leader who has gone to a speech coach, the famous speech coaches in the Netherlands, starting with, I have one wife, 2 children, and 1 dog. I live in this city.
Waddinxveen.
Yes, that's me showing vulnerability. That's my story, and then quickly move on to that other side. But story of self is a little more inside. How did you feel in the last quarter? Talk about your feelings, your journey, your things, but not so much that it becomes only about you.
Yeah, because that was what I wanted to ask. Is there like an order in these things? Because talking about yourself, then the attention is on you, not on the audience.
Of course, it depends on the situation. Of course, if you are introducing your first time at an event, then the story of self is longer than story of us, because you also don't know who the team is. But if it's about bringing the unity and end of year, and you want to start the year on a good note, the story of us, of course, takes precedence. But story of self, how you felt last year when probably you had to make tough decisions or things were tough. How you survived the year also shows that human side that, hey, I wasn't enjoying also, I was with you in this journey. And the story of now is the action, what we need to do moving forward. The balance of the 3 elements depends on the situation, depends on the purpose that the speaker wants to achieve. But this is honestly it's a magical recipe that brings people together. It shows vulnerability, shows the human side, and at the same time leaves people with action, something to do for the future.
So it is always me, us, now.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be in that. It could be us, me, now. It depends on the situation.
Yeah, but now is always at the of course at the end.
Preferably, yes.
Yes, yeah. And that could also work. I mean, now, because the first example that we had, and now we kind of stuck in this dead end street, is that we have to tell people that they will be fired. But that's not the only moment that you.
To be honest, that can also be used. I maybe not fired. I remember my first job in India, where we were new joinees, were given an idea about the rating system of the company, and I'm talking about. I worked in the back office of Lehman Brothers. And I remember our one of the very senior leaders from that office told us, like, 1 means this, 2 means this, 3 means okay, 4 means not so good, 5 means great. So what does it mean for future? And then I remember at some point he said, listen, it was just what you get rating doesn't mean end of the story. I remember the first year when I started here, I got a 4, which is not good. That means bad. But then I worked hard. And 4 means that there are a lot of things that you can improve. That means if you do all that, next year you can get a 2 and 3. And I did get a 2 the year after. And I'm grateful that I got a 4, because it was an insight and wake up call for me. Like that, just that little personal story made us all realize it's not the end of the story. If our big boss has gone through this, we can all survive and go through that. I still remember that story. This is 2007 I'm talking about. So that little personal story always makes an impact, whether you talk about when you going through a similar situation or how it is going for you. It depends on how much insight you want to give. But it takes what do you call that, like you have to show that vulnerability and honestly. You cannot make fake stories and fake modesty. I was I know difficult situations because last time I couldn't fly first class and I had to fly business class, and it was so hard for me. That kind of stories, like, I'm exaggerating, but you get the point.
Yeah. Definitely. So it doesn't matter if it's a reorganization plan or you want to pitch a new idea to your board or you want to introduce a new system. Those 3 elements should be in it.
It's one of the storytelling elements that always builds a good connection with your audience, with the people, and with the group.
Okay.
And can you tell me something about being on stage, like the presence, the thing beyond the words or beyond the structure? How do you look into that?
I have learned a lot about it. I still remember my first speech that I gave at this Toastmaster Club. I could not move. I was so paralyzed. I was just standing and talking. I have learned it. I mean, things with body languages you learn by observing others. You try with experimenting. and then it becomes your muscle memory where your body knows how you should react. So one of the things in my speech that there has been a lot of some articles I have read about, also people have analyzed my speech, is there's a point when I say, and I wanted to climb the mountain of Mount Everest of disappointment, and I hold that pose. There's a lot of pictures of me doing this. There's a but when I look back at it, yes, I knew it's a powerful moment and I need to hold the pose. But how long should you hold? You have to also be intuitive with the audience. Their reaction tells you if you want to hold longer or you want to leave that. It comes with confidence, holding that pose and not doing just this and leaving it doesn't look neat. There is enough research on it, like your hands, what to do with your hands, like showing numbers. Again, there are also so much cultural sensitivity to it. I just learned that in some countries, if I show 2 like this, but if I show 2 like this, it actually is an offensive thing to show. I didn't know, but these are things you learn along the way. It's really about observing others and then trying it out in your speeches in a safe space. And see how the audience is reacting. Not always they're going to react the best way. Sometimes you don't get reaction, but that's learning, right?
Yeah. Just for the people who only have the audio, like the Dutch version, if you want to signal the number 1 and you put on the middle finger, then it's kind of
different.
It's different than you put on the index finger. Right?
From the people on this table, Hans, you have seen a lot of speakers on the Denk production stage.
Yeah.
Can you recall somebody who was really standing still, or someone who's giving a lot of energy? What are some names you think about?
Well, I know that one of the best Dutch experts in speaking is Remco Klaassen, and Remco has he has a theory and says stand still. Okay. Because you want people to focus on you. If you're running on the stage, it signals you. I mean, unless you want to signal the past, the present, and the future, then you can walk on the stage. But if you want to get people's attention, the position on the stage is in the center. If you want to tell a bit about the past or the big picture, you go stand back.
Yeah.
If you want to make it more personal for the people, you go stand on the edge of the stage up front. But in general, what Remco says is only move when it has a meaning or a function. And not run over the stage because you are Tom Peters or Tony Robbins. I don't think actually Tony Robbins is running. But just moving or over the stage without
it shows restlessness.
Yes, restlessness. It's not fun. It's not easy to watch. And so I think that's a very good lesson. However, no.
I am agreeing on this. But I also remember Alexander Osterwalder at Amsterdam Business Forum. And he's a really energetic but authentic speaker.
Yeah.
I don't know if I remember it correctly, but he was like walking and gesturing and everything.
Yeah, but then I think Remco would disagree that this is the right way to go. But his message is, I want to fire you up. I want to really get you going and not give you reflections, thinking, because so he has a different
approach.
Goal, and then he chooses
that what you were talking about thinking about your audience, the moment in the day, what do you want to achieve?
And if I may add to that, there are hundreds of public speaking tips, like on the stage use, on the body language, like how to move, how to I have learned how to walk on the stage, for example, because you should never show the back to the audience, like that sideway walk that we do on stage. But the one thing, and I say this with a little authority on this topic.
There you go. Come on.
Public speaking is not a science, it's an art. And the difference between science and art is science, if you follow the rules, if you follow all the do this, do that, you will reach a conclusion and you reach somewhere. But with art, you have to go with, there are of course rules about it. Like if you start drawing randomly, you can call it art or gibberish, but there are rules about how to sketch, what color to use. But two people drawing the exact same painting, one can convey so much and the other conveys nothing. Public speaking and what you do on stage is a form of art. So it's really about the connection you build and the rapport you create with your audience. The audience looks at the entirety. When they're looking at a speech, you moving forward to emphasize a point or moving back to show the past. Are they really paying attention to that? I don't think so. I really don't think they're doing that. What they're looking at is the overall feeling to the story and how it makes them feel, how it makes them want to do something differently tomorrow. They're looking at the entirety, because public speaking is an art. You can follow all the rules and still your speech makes no impact on the audience. It falls flat, and you break all the rules. You move, you dance, or you don't, just stand still and convey with your words and expression and the reactions to your audience, and the audience loves you. It's really an art form that is beyond rules. It is dictated by the feelings, it is dictated by emotions, and it dictated by the connection you build with your audience.
Okay. Good point. Touché. But no. This,
we love buts.
But I mean, that would also mean, the three of us here on the table could never draw a Picasso, right? Because that's art. So you have Okay, sorry. Okay,
I agree. Speak for yourself.
okay. Only me then. No, but what I wanted to say, because I heard you say, your focus should be on the audience, how your message lands. So you really, get into the audience. But I know 80% of speakers go on stage with a story in their head that needs to get out.
Yeah.
The audience is like, it is there in front of them, but it's like, they spray it over the people.
Yeah.
But their full focus is on their story and not on the audience, because they because they are nervous, because they know there's a lot depends on it. And then the safe option is, I have the story, I prepared it, it's in my head, it's in my slides. I will spread it over the audience, right? How do you get the confidence, or is there a way to make sure that you get out of your head and you use your eyes and look at the audience and just see how it lands? Because that is a totally different way of speaking.
I tell you something, excitement and nervousness are the exact same feeling. Only thing is we are expecting a different outcome. When you're excited, you're expecting something positive to happen. And when you're nervous, you're expecting something negative to happen. So when you feel that jitter in your body, if you tell yourself, I'm excited, that will definitely shift a lot of your approach to the stage. We put too much importance to the speaker. I honestly have said this after winning, literally on my winning moment. When you win the prize, they ask you to give an acceptance speech. And I said, it's never a speaker who wins. It's the speech. It's the idea that triumphs more than the idea giver. As speakers, and everybody who has been on stage, even in your forums, they're nothing more than vessels. They're just people who are communicating an idea from A to B. Most of the time, it's not even their original idea. They have learned from someone else. They have picked it up from someone else. We give too much importance to the speaker, and the speaker gives too much importance to themselves. You are just a vessel communicating an idea from A to B. And that's your role is to just spread the idea in a way that helps the people who are listening. That's how I look at it.
Ooh. This is actually, you are in good company there, because we used to have, at one point in my 25 years at Denk Producties, we had the opportunity to have Chris Anderson as a speaker, the founder of TED.
Yeah.
And he said it's also the best way not to get nervous, because if you get nervous when you think people look at you and you have to perform, but you do not get nervous when you think that I have an idea and I'm going to give this little gift to the audience.
Exactly.
And I'm only Santa Claus.
Exactly.
And then you kind of the tension goes away, because you have a gift that you are giving, and then people still think you're a lot more sympathetic because it's not about you, but because it's about the idea. And I thought, oh damn, this looks like a quick fix, but it's more fundamental than that.
You have to remind yourself this when you wake up in the morning, when you prepare your speech, when you're going on stage. And it takes away that ego and that vanity that comes with speaker, because speaker gets too much worshipped. It's the idea that should be respected and taken home, and not the honest of the speaker. And I say this with honesty. I think we give too much importance to the speaker. Speakers are just vessels communicating ideas from A to B. Hope people don't hate me after saying that, but this is what I think.
But it feels very comforting, because then if the only thing you have to know is that the idea you're spreading is good.
Yes.
If not, then perhaps you shouldn't be on the stage anyway.
100%.
Yeah.
Will you join the World Championship of Toastmasters again this year, next year, in the future?
Unfortunately, once you're a champion, you cannot compete again.
You're just a Hall of Fame.
Just a Hall of Fame up on the Wikipedia page.
Competitions for the Nordic business forums?
No,
Oh.
not anymore. No.
So we have to think about new championships.
Yes. Yeah. I have one question because I think many speakers struggle with the following. Then so they prepare the talk, they have a message they want to bring across, and then you come to the final minute.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many speakers saying, "Okay, so that was it. Is there any questions, by the way?" Mm-hmm. So how do you really? Because Daniel Kahneman has the peak end rule, right? You have to end with a peak. How do you really make a proper ending to a talk? And also perhaps what not to do. You can start with that. So how do you not end your speech?
I think you don't end your speech with low energy. Mm-hmm. Like I know the energy starts dipping. It's not consistent. I have a method. I prepare my speech in tranches. So it's more like 10 chapters instead of one big movie. Mm-hmm. So the energy goes like this, but you end with a shebang. You end with a high energy. So low energy is definitely not right. Second is you don't end with something new that you have not said yet, because a lot of times that happens. Third is you lose. So one thing, for example, like keynotes and all, right? There's a Q&A and everything everybody does. And the risk of Q&A is some audience member will ask you a question that has nothing to do with anything. And the entire discussion and the becomes different. So it's important to take it back and summarize again, so people don't forget what you said. And the only memory is not about the Q&A and the detour it took. So it's important to take back your stage, take back your position. I avoid reading from the slides all the time, but the last slide is always a blank slide because the focus should be on the speaker. And that's the moment you should speak with authority, and there's nothing on the slide, including a QR code. I mean, workshops is different, but when you're speaking, your last line, and then you can put up your QRs and for whatever, but not when you're having the last line. What
were the last lines in Philadelphia?
So if life asks you, if you are you ready to be a performer, just put on your red suit, red dress, step on the stage, and just... The audience said just not. So getting the audience to speak for you is also a great way. They finish your line.
Especially with the Indian nodding.
Nodding, exactly. So bringing the audience back, if they can finish the last line, that is the best way to finish. Otherwise, I love ending with nice quotes, but the quotes has to be relevant. Like it can't be like a quote that let's say you spoke about the whole city of Amsterdam and you end with a quote from Gandhi that has nothing to do with anything just because. And I like to end with a quote that I read yesterday, but has no connection just because somebody told you to. It has to be relevant. It has to be, and one thing important to remember, ending is to make your speech memorable. Ending is not here to save your speech. So if your content has been poor and average, no fantastic and ending can do damage control. Because a lot of time it's like, let me have this amazing ending and people will remember. But if your content is average and poor, that cannot damage control. That's one thing good to remember when it comes to ending a speech.
Yeah. So actually wrap it up. Focus on the now, I would say.
Yes.
So give people ideas for actions they can do tomorrow, and not stop by saying, "Are there any questions in the audience?" Right?
And not the sudden ending.
No.
End with more command.
Yeah.
Like end with, like, for example, if you can end with a bit of a rhyme, like words that rhyme. I love doing that because it's like it's a perfect way to end. For most of my keynotes, I end with that story of the rabbit and turtle. And they kind of summarize what I said in the keynote. It's that, when they took a race and the rabbit or hare was tired, fell asleep, and the tortoise crossed and won. So the slow and steady wins the race. But the story doesn't end there. They decide to race again. This time the rabbit doesn't fall asleep, crosses the finish line and wins. Moral of the story, we have to learn from our mistakes. We are going to make many mistakes along the way. It's important not to repeat the mistakes. Then they decide to race again, but this time the tortoise shows the path. The rabbit runs and stops. Why? It's a river. The rabbit cannot swim. So the tortoise comes there, jumps in the river, crosses and wins. Moral of the story, we have to play to our strengths. Last time, they both decide, enough racing, let's run together. The rabbit says, you climb on my back. They run and then they stop at the river. Now the tortoise says, now you climb on my back, and they cross the river. This time, they both cross the finish line. They both are happy, and they both will take the least amount of time. Moral of the story, it's way more fun when you do it together. So dear audience, let's learn from our mistakes. Let's play to our strengths, and let's remember it's way more fun when you do it together.
I think we just ended the podcast. We cannot go over it.
This is kind of the
you
is
have
the momentum.
listened to Sabyasachi Sengupta.
You can easily Google his name.
You can easily Google his name. Maybe the best way is to Google at Method in Madness. What's the URL?
Method-im.com.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you want help with your public speaking, please contact Sabyasachi.
Or just call me Sabi. It's fine.
Sabi is good. Sabyasachi Sengupta. Yeah, I've practiced saying the name. Thank you very much. And for the listeners, bye bye. En stuur door, abonneer, doe dingen. Dag.
Bye bye.